It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Today is NFL Draft Preview Day. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, longtime voice of the Chargers and Seahawks. This is a special week if you enjoy the National Football League, in a week in which we're going to cover the NFL Draft in depth. I'm here in studio, my co-host, John Riley, with his opinions from left field. He'll be joining us after halftime as we talk about all the other topics on the table. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can help you. DIXIELINE Lumber. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. And brought to you by Ourlads Draft Guide. If you love NFL football, you still have the opportunity to order your draft guide. You won't believe the 200-plus pages of information, draft synopsis, mock drafts, school-by-school breakdowns, and the team depth charts. Just go to ourlads.com. On the upper left-hand side, you can order. You can either order the book or you can order the digital version. This is must-have reading if you're an NFL fan. And that being the way it is, we are welcomed now by senior draft editor John Cooper. He joins us from the Midwest. He, of course, with Ourlads. John, great to have you with us. This is the third year in a row we've done a draft preview with you running the ship. I'm going to ask you a bunch of NFL-related questions first before we go pick by pick, position by position, and we go to the draft. Let's just talk. Is this the deepest defensive draft we have seen in a while? Because the mock drafts that I've surveyed indicate we could have as many as 17 of the top 32 picks be defensive players. How do you view this draft?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's a great defensive draft. There's some positions that are a lot stronger than others. I think it has more to do with maybe some of the offensive positions, like running back, might not be as strong. I think there's good depth overall in certain positions, but there's not as much of that elite talent that we've seen in the past. I think there's a scramble to get some of those players. There's people that are looking to trade up, people are looking to trade down. There's a lot of moving parts to this whole thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Is it unique? Ohio State could have as many as 4 kids drafted in the first 7 or 8 picks of the first round. Has that ever happened before?
That's a good question. I think there have been some teams, I think in the Florida State era that have had some guys up that high. I couldn't give you specifics, but I seem to remember there have been some teams that have had crazy number of picks that high. But, yeah, you're right. That is unusual.
A question about the guy who's going to go number 1, Fernando Mendoza. Hardly any other quarterback's going to go in the first round, maybe not into the second round. And yet, if we're looking to 2027, that looks like that might be the year of the quarterback a year from today if you and I are doing this podcast again.
Yeah, most likely. Oh, yeah, it's going to be that should be a better year for sure. I haven't gotten around to really looking at many of those guys other than Arch Manning. Yes, from what I'm hearing, that's what it looks like.
I want to ask you your reaction to some of the trades that have transpired and the rumors that are really out there that there's going to be a bunch of deals sometime leading in to Thursday's draft. Let's start, first of all, with what happened here on the West Coast, and the Rams paid quite a price to get the cornerback out of Kansas City. I thought that was win-win for both sides. Your reaction? Yeah,
I think so. The Chiefs are going to have to draft a corner, after that trade. But, they still had some solid players there. But, they have some needs. They're coming off, an abysmal season for them. Injuries played a part of that for sure. But their pass rush wasn't what it was. They're a little bit long in the tooth. The receiver core, is a little bit shaky. And, they've got some needs they have to address. So, getting that pick is worth that trade. And, of course, San Diego needs help. Or not San Diego. I apologize. The Chargers need help. Or the Rams, excuse me. The Rams need help at um, at corner.
Question about the New York Giants-Cincinnati Bengal trade consummated on the weekend. Price to pay to get a 27-year-old defensive tackle, or was that a desperation move by Cincinnati? Are you surprised the Giants and Harbaugh did that?
I'm actually surprised that Cincinnati was willing to give up the 10th pick in the draft. I heard that rumor, well before it happened, and I dismissed it in my mind. I'm saying 10th, you got a guy that's disgruntled and wants to be traded, and you figure a team could probably hold them up, to get that done. But Cincinnati was willing to not only pay the 10th pick in the draft, they were also willing to pay the extension, the money he wanted, which that surprised me a little bit. But I think Cincinnati's defense is not very good, and they don't play the run well. They don't rush the passer. So if Dexter Lawrence returns to form, they've got a great player.
Are we waiting for the next domino to fall? Philadelphia going to trade A.J. Brown? Really?
Yeah, I've heard that very strongly. That's I'm on Philadelphia quite a bit, and the talk I hear, out of there is that they want to move on from A.J. Brown for a number of reasons, and he's on the market for sure.
And a question about a quarterback who hasn't committed yet. I hate to say Aaron Rodgers seems to be holding Pittsburgh hostage, but here we are draft week. He's given him no inclination what his feelings are. You find this whole thing strange, and how should the Steelers respond?
Well, I think the Steelers need to take a look at that real closely. They're going to need the quarterback of the future anyway. They need to draft a quarterback sometime in this draft. It may not be the quarterback of the future, but they have to take a look at it and see, okay, is there somebody out there that we can work with? We hope that Aaron Rodgers is with us, and we don't have to draft a guy to play right away, but we need a quarterback that will play beyond Aaron Rodgers.
When you draft a guy pretty high, number one, sometimes they work out. More times than not, it's a real scuffle. And now Indianapolis has got this mess with a high number one pick. Anthony Richardson's been nothing but hurt the entire time. They're not going to get value for him. What does Indianapolis do?
Well, they have to, go with what they've got. That's all they can do at this point. I got to believe that they're in the market to draft a quarterback. They're going to have to go, hope Richardson's healthy. They're going to have to go with the players that they have, the depth they have at quarterback. And there's not much they can do. They don't have a first-round pick. Ty Simpson, he may or may not be available. He's the next best quarterback, and after that, I think you've got third, fourth round value at the quarterback position.
The rumors are running rampant that there could be as many as 5 more trades in the upper echelon of the first round. Dallas seems to be just driven to get inside the top 5 picks to go get some of that defense that we've already alluded to. You got Arizona talking trading back, Washington trading back, Atlanta trying to stockpile trading back. Do you think at the top of the board, after we get beyond pick 1 to the Raiders and pick 2 to the Jets, domino's going to fall?
I think very possible. I think, we've heard that the Cardinals would like to trade back or trade into the first round, if they can't get the right deal trading back, to trade into the first round to draft Ty Simpson. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's the rumor that we've heard. And so we've heard one of the scenarios is trading with the Bears, and swapping picks at rounds, and then getting into 25, and the Bears getting extra picks by trading down. I don't know if that's going to happen. But that's one of the rumors. We've heard the Cowboys want to get to number 3. Sonny Styles is. I know they need an off-the-ball linebacker very badly, and Sonny Styles is a possibility. Arvell Reese is a possibility. So that's going to be. And they need They need help everywhere in defense. Kansas City, I think, is looking to trade up from 9. We've heard that they like Ruben Bain a lot. So that's a possibility as well.
Let me ask you about the uniqueness of this draft. The Jets have 4 of the top 44 picks, and the Jets have 3 number 1s next year. Could they flip this thing pretty quick?
Yes, I think so. If they do it right, they've had some defensive talent. I think they're going to bring in some players. They're going to get 2 first-round picks. I don't see them trading. I think they're going to take a really good football player, whether it's Reese, Bailey, or even Bain with that second pick. And that's what we see anyway. We see Bailey, but hey, you don't know. And then they're going to get another player later on that's going to be, a solid player, most likely an offensive player, I would imagine, to try to bolster both sides of the ball. But, I think in a couple of years you could see the New York Jets as a quality team.
John Harbaugh goes to the New York Football Giants, and even though they were wretched, he inherits a quarterback, a running back, injured wide receivers, a lot of offensive linemen who've been hurt. Could he flip this thing quicker than anybody understands?
I think so. One of the things that he's got going for him, just the same thing that the Bears had going for him, the Patriots had going for him, and the Jaguars had going for him, an easier schedule. And it's only 3 or 4 games there that's easier. But that's substantial when you see how close the records are and how close these games are. So you saw how the Bears flipped it. You saw how the Patriots flipped it in particular. The Giants could very easily do the same thing. Don't know if they're going to, be in the playoffs right away, but I think they're going to be a lot better.
John, you and I have covered this a long time. Is this a strange feel that there's no Mike Tomlin nor Sean McDermott in the NFL right now?
Yes. Yes. It's a little bit heartbreaking to see what happened to Sean McDermott, in my mind. The way that game came down, and that's just the nature of the beast. And, you got a great team. You've had great teams. You just haven't won the Super Bowl or gotten to the Super Bowl. And bingo, you're out. John Harbaugh, 18 super years with the Ravens. And you don't make the playoffs, you're out. After you haven't won a Super Bowl for 10 years or 12 years or whatever it is. That's, the nature of the game. Mike Tomlin, he voluntarily walked away, but, you got to believe there was some pressure as a part of that. And there's a shelf life in coaching. I coached long enough to know that staying in one place for a long time has its pitfalls.
One other question before we start to break down the specifics of the draft. The Chargers, I tend to think on my street corner, Joe Ortiz has done a hell of a job with back-to-back drafts. I do not understand what he did not get done when he had gaping holes in the offensive front, defensive front, and he lost people and didn't replace them with the adequate people. That's my spin. They got to do a better job. Justin Herbert sacked 105 times in the last 2 years alone, and the volume of hits that he's taken. Your response to what Ortiz has done as a GM, player personnel acquisitions, what he did not do in free agency, and then the follow-up, are they caught in no man's land? Because at 22, looks like the quality defensive pass rushers will be gone and a lot of the offensive linemen off the board too. Thoughts?
I think I'm not going to criticize the general manager. There's a lot of variables that go on. You got to find the trading partners. You have to have the picks. And, it's a fine line. I think if those tackles were not injured, they would have been a better playoff team. They still made the playoffs. I think the interior offensive line is weak. The depth is weak for sure. No doubt about that. They have to take steps to fix that. I think you'll find a good player, in that slot. And you got McDaniel in there, and his offense needs a certain type of offensive lineman. I could see them drafting a tackle and playing him at guard, somebody that can provide depth at tackle and somebody who can play guard. I could really see that happening. That's kind of what we have in our mock draft, our most recent mock draft. And there are some good guards down the road too. I could see them stocking up at that position, and they still have a good roster. So I think they're going to be okay. The injuries play a big part in this thing, and you got to prepare for them. So your depth has to be top notch, and that's where the Chargers got caught.
We're talking NFL football. He knows it. I cover it. John Cooper, senior draft editor. Ourlads draft guide, our NFL draft preview is off and running as we go towards Thursday's first round of the draft. Coming up at halftime, John Riley will rejoin us in studio. We will talk all things NFL, baseball, basketball, hockey playoffs, and more, so make sure you stay with that. John, let's move to position by position. Just give me a quick response. Mendoza, Indiana. I think big-time player manages games and makes plays. A lot of people don't think he's a 4,000-yard passer. Does he need to be? Your thoughts on him, and then your thoughts on Tyler Simpson from Alabama. Has he proven enough as just a one-year starter, or is he a game manager too? And then after that, anybody you like?
Well, Mendoza has some intangibles that make him an elite quarterback, in our opinion. He's got leadership qualities. He's got, I hate to say this, he's got heart, but that's exactly what he has. He's got the heart of a champion. And he's a leader. He can do things that other quarterbacks can't do, and some things that he can't do that other quarterbacks can. But a good coach is going to put him in a position to succeed, and he will succeed. Given the tools, he can create with his feet well enough. He's an accurate passer. He can make all the throws. And, he's an on-time passer. He's smart. He's got a good football IQ. Is he the best athlete at quarterback? Is he the best creator? He doesn't have Lamar Jackson's feet. He may not have the arm to outside that some other quarterback, or down the middle that some other quarterbacks may have. But he does everything well, very well, and he's fundamentally sound. He's going to be a great player. Ty Simpson, he's raw. We know some of the people that have worked with Ty as quarterback coaches, and he's a football junkie. He's a coach's kid. He loves the game. He works very hard at it. He's got great tools. He can create with his feet. He's a little bit reckless when he plays sometimes. That's why he had some of those injuries. And you're right, he's raw. But he stayed at Alabama behind Bryce Young and Jalen Milroy and learned. And he's going to probably do the same thing in the NFL. He's only, like you said, he's only a one-year starter in college. The team that drafts him should have another quarterback that can play and he can learn. Same way that Patrick Mahomes did. That's not popular these days. But Simpson is the perfect candidate of a guy that understands what it is to learn the game and sit behind another quarterback. Somebody that may be willing to trade up or draft him later is going to get a good one.
And a final comment on quarterbacks. The kid from LSU's been hurt. The kid from Penn State sure has raw talent and had a major injury. How do you view Nussmeier and Allard?
Yeah, what you said. Nussmeier has been hot and cold too. He's played through injuries, but he has flashed some very good play. He's our third best quarterback. He's the third quarterback on our board, and we have a third-round grade on him. We think somebody will also draft him, and it potentially has a starter down the line. Drew Allard, maybe a little bit below that, but in the same tier of quarterbacks.
Let's move on to running backs. Jeremiah Love looks like he's on a plateau by himself. Everybody else is chasing to be him. That's a big-time back. But did big-time backs go inside the top five? And then what's the pecking order beyond the star?
Well, Love is unique. He's not just a running back. He's a receiver. He's a guy that you can put out in the slot. And if you really want to, you can create a matchup nightmare and line him up at wide receiver. And I think teams are going to use him creatively because he's a good runner. He can run in space. He's got enough power that he can move the chains and break tackles. But he's also a terrific receiver, that out of the backfield or lined up in the slot or even out wide. He's a unique player. He's not Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry from that perspective, but all the other things he can do, puts him in an elite class as a running back. Mike Washington is the next best guy, a big drop-off in our opinion. In fact, we put a 2-3 range on Mike Washington and Jadarian Price, who are the next two running backs on our list. There's some thought that Price playing behind Love could go as high as early second round. And some people really, really like him because of his speed and he's got some power. Mike Washington has elite speed, the kid from Arkansas. So he's a speed back, but he's got good size. A little bit straight line, but a real quality back. And somebody's going to get a good pick in the second round with both of those guys. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska would be the next guy on our list. Again, it's not a great year for running backs, but there is some talent. And, as an old coach friend of mine used to say, hey, somebody's got to play. We got to draft somebody. So they're going to get drafted and they're going to play.
Let's move to wide receiver. There's no drop-off. Boy, there's some big-time size guys, big-time speed guys, big-time good hands guys. This is a pretty deep wide receiver class. Rank them.
Yeah, as far as the first round is concerned, I think you could see 6 guys in the first round. I think we would tier them and split that up in the upper half of the first round and bottom half of the first round. But I think there's 6 legitimate first-round picks with some good depth beyond that. Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson is kind of like, which flavor do you want? Tate has great hands. He's a great route runner. He's not a blazing speed receiver, but he can do everything you want in terms of catching the ball. Drops, they're very, very seldom. He's got a great catch radius with good height, and he knows how to get open. Makai Lemon is a very twitchy, more or less a slot receiver, but he's more than that. He can make yards after catch. He can make people miss in space, and he also has very good hands. Jordan Tyson is a guy that we liked from the get-go. He suffered through some injuries playing at ASU, but he's got speed, he's got height, he's got great route running ability, and he can catch the ball. His workout at ASU the other day, we had one of our scouts there. His son is the special teams coordinator there, and he was at the practice, he was at the workout, and the scouts came away, very happy with his workout. There is some concern with a hamstring. He's not running 40s because he's afraid of blowing it out because he's had some problems there. Denzel Boston is a quality receiver, next guy on our list from Washington. And, he's a route runner with really good size and catch radius. So he's your red zone target. He's going to do a lot of good things. Casey Concepcion, a little bit smaller, good speed, good route runner. Does everything well, everything you want. Omar Cooper from Indiana came on real strong at the end of the season, obviously, and he is maybe the fastest of this group with really good speed, good hands. Route running is a little bit raw, but this is a kid that is worthy of a late first-round pick.
The Oregon tight end, exceptional, and is there any comparable you say, this guy could be what this other guy was, a veteran who's come into the league and done well?
Yeah, he's got some of the same things that you see with Andrews and, some of the other great tight ends that have played in the league. He's got good speed, and that's the thing that you're going to like about him. He's got the speed to stretch the defense. He's going to be more of the FH tight end rather than a Y. He's not going to play attached that often. He can block in space. But he's a pass catcher, and he will be wide receiver-like as an inside receiver.
Let's talk about the offensive line. What a deep group of offensive guards led by the one at Penn State and then obviously the one at Miami if he's completely healthy. Not as many quality offensive tackles, but is it going to be a good haul inside?
Yeah, I think both area. Actually, we think some of these guys that are tackles are going to be guards, potentially. So it depends on how you rank them, that way. At guard, we think there's 3 good ones that are 2 of them for sure worthy of a first-round pick. I mean, Ione is a guy from Penn State that is unique. You don't find guys being talked about as top 10 picks potentially that play guard. You just don't see that very often. Quentin Nelson from a few years ago was a rare exception, but he's one. I mean, he is a great pass blocker, and he can knock you off the ball. Emmanuel Pregnant from Oregon is the next guy. We like him a lot, and we think he is potentially a first-round pick as well, which is unique. You don't see very many guards going in the first round. Chase Pasantis from Texas A&M and DJ Campbell and Kalen Rutledge are also, very good guards as you move down our stack. And in tackle, some of those guys could be guards. Spencer Fano could be a guard and a good one. He's probably going to be drafted as a tackle, but maybe not. Mainoa from Miami, same thing. Proctor, same thing. That's why I think the Chargers are going to get one of these guys and possibly make them into a guard.
We're talking all things NFL draft. John Cooper, senior draft editor, Ourlads Draft Guide, with us. Here our NFL draft preview underway. Still to come right after halftime. John Riley will rejoin us, and then we'll talk NFL, baseball, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and a lot more. Let's go to the defensive side of the football.
First, let me just mention Monroe Freeling from Georgia. He's really come up. And, we think he's a first-round pick now. And, he could even bypass, some of these guys that we met. He could bypass Proctor possibly as a tackle because he's got left tackle ability. Raw, but he's a guy that can play.
Okay, let's move to defense. This may not be a tremendous year inside at defensive tackle, but this looks like an unbelievably good crop of defensive ends. Am I correct in that assessment?
Absolutely. We're scratching our heads to try to find a tackle that people could draft in the first round, and not so on the edge. We see as many as 7 going in the first round. We don't know that that's going to happen, but we have 7 guys that are right there as first round picks.
Go ahead and talk about Ruben Bain, Miami, David Bailey, Texas Tech, and then maybe Caden McDonald, the defensive tackle, Ohio State.
Okay, well, Bain is the top of our board as far as a complete player. He plays on the edge. He's got good size. He's an excellent pass rusher with a variety of moves. You can kick him down inside in your sub packages, and you can put somebody else, a situational guy, on the edge. And Bain will beat a guard he'll out-quick guards, and he's strong enough to collapse the pocket. So he's an elite football player. David Bailey is a pass rusher. There isn't anybody better coming off the edge, at least in this draft. Bend and squeeze to the quarterback, speed coming off the edge, a variety of pass rush moves, an improving run defender. Really a good football player. And Caden McDonald is the next guy you want me to talk about?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, well, you must have looked at our draft book because he's our top-ranked guy. We love Christian Miller, too. But Caden McDonald is a big kid at 327. He's got good wingspan, big hands. He will hold the point consistently. He can get into gaps. He's got enough lateral movement that he can make plays along the line. Pass rush is a developing part of his game, and that's why we don't have tackles up real high this year, is because there's not a lot of great consistent pass rushers in the group. There's some run stuffers, and McDonald is par excellence when it comes to stuffing the run. But he flashes some ability to get upfield, and he does get some push, collapsing the pocket. He's got some moves that way, and we think he's a kid that can develop and be a quality tackle. You can't teach size, and you can't teach the power that he's got. So, we like him. Now, people are all over the board on these tackles as far as we've got about 6 guys ranked that could be second-round picks for, and I think it's people, the way they look at them, there's not a consensus over who's better than who. And it's all going to be what a team wants, what a team needs playing inside.
Okay, let's move the linebackers. The Ohio State Alumni Association, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, are they the best of the best of that whole linebacking group?
Definitely. Reese can be an edge defender as well. He's a great pass rusher. He's a little bit raw as far as an array of moves and battling offensive tackles, but he's an excellent blitzer. When he's had a chance to play on the edge, he's flashed the kind of bend and squeeze you look for, and speed coming off the edge as far as a speed rusher. He's also, though, a good cover linebacker, and he can chase all over the field. Got great speed. And he's got good instincts playing off the ball. It's going to be interesting to see how teams use him and where he's drafted. Which one of those, 3 or 4 teams at the top, actually takes him. Sonny Styles, we like him. We think he's potentially the best off-the-ball linebacker in this draft. He's not there yet. He's a little raw. Also, he's a converted safety, so his cover skills are going to be good, but learning to play coverage from underneath in the box and playing from the safety position are 2 different things. So it's been a learning curve for him. He's a little bit raw with his run fits, but, he can run, he can chase, and he can take people on. And he's got good size, he's got good speed. As far as playing off the ball, we think the team that drafts him is going to have a quality linebacker that can do so much for them including coverage, that he think he's going to go pretty high.
Let's ask you about the secondary. Year by year, there's always sexy names. I don't see any neon light names here outside of maybe the cover corner from LSU. Am I missing something here?
Well, you make a good point. We have 4 corners with first-round grades, and there's a couple other guys that could slip into the first round based on need. The NFL teams, they look at these guys, they put them in tiers, and that means somebody at pick 28 might take a guy that might have a grade a little bit lower than that because of the need, but yet they're only a few slots away, and they're sitting in a tier of maybe about 10 players that they would take at that round. And there's a lot of guys that fit that mold. And SPURS is probably the top corner, but a guy that we really like was Jermod McCoy. We think if Jermod McCoy was healthy and played at the same level he did in 2024, he'd be the first corner taken. We still think he's going to go pretty high. He had a really good workout the other day. If you look at his 2024 tape, good player. Does everything well, has good speed. Unfortunately, that ACL injury kept him out this entire season. So, he's, going to have to, team's going to have to look long and hard. Is he the player we saw in 24? But he's a good one. So it'll be interesting to see who takes him and where he goes.
Let me ask you about safeties. Again, pinpointing somebody out of Ohio State. And safeties don't go real high first round, but is Caleb Downs maybe the exception to the rule? And then there's a kid from Oregon and a kid from tiny Toledo. What do you think?
Well, you got the 3 in our order in terms of, and then after that, there's a pretty good drop-off. But Caleb Downs, we think, is a top 10 talent. He's got the same kind of, he's actually got a little more agility than even, Kyle Hamilton did. But Kyle Hamilton had that great size. But there's some similarities in terms of the way they play. He can play in the box. He can play over the top. He's got great range, good ball skills. He can fit the run. He can go laterally and make plays inside, outside. He's a do-it-all safety that the right team can use him as a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for different route positions and different packages. Great player. Thieneman and McNeil-Warren are similar, just not quite as gifted. We think those guys are going to go pretty close in the latter half of the first round. Both of them can play in the box. Both of them can play deep. Both of them have ball skills. So you're going to get a good player, and those teams that need safeties are going to look very long and hard at those two. And we think they're going to go somewhere in the latter half of the first round.
Okay, John, 2 other sidebar questions. I've sat here covering San Diego State forever. I saw Chris Johnson grow from just a guy on a football roster to a guy who became a dominant cover corner, physical, fast, smart, etc. Where do you rank the Aztec? Do you think he's a second-round pick? And
I think he might be a first-round pick. I'll be very honest with you on that one. I know coaches I've talked to love him. They also love D'Angelo Pons. So 2 guys that are not being talked about that much as high picks are Chris Johnson and D'Angelo Pons. Johnson has good height. He's got great speed. The only negative that I have on Chris Johnson is the competition level he played at. We haven't seen him against a lot of elite receivers that some of these other guys are going against in the SEC. That said, the tools are there, the traits are there, and I know people that have watched tape on him from the NFL have him very highly ranked. And actually probably higher ranked than we do. But we've always had him as a upper second round grade on with him, and we've always put the range that he could be drafted in as 1 to 2. There are some learning curve for him, probably playing at the NFL level, but we think he's a real good football player.
And a final question, and this is because of what Brock Purdy became. This is because of who Tom Brady was and what he turned into. Is there somebody there at Ourlads you say, watch this guy? It might be a small college quarterback, might be a small college player, a running back, a school guy. Is there some dark horse out there that might be somebody that's going to turn into a pro that you like?
Well, there's a couple that we could talk about. The guy we probably like the best is Cole Payton from North Dakota State. Coming from, a FCS, you're not playing that kind of competition. But, he's got good height. He's a creator with his feet. He's an accurate passer at that level. He made a good impression at the Senior Bowl. We don't know where he's going to get drafted. We probably have him a little higher than maybe some of the other people do. We think he's a developmental prospect that can come in and sit behind somebody, and he can develop into a starter. If not that, he can develop into a quality backup. And I wouldn't draft him to come in and play right away. But he's a guy that, we happen to think he'd be our, if you want to call it a sleeper pick, our Brock Purdy pick, that would be Cole Payton.
Oh, superb job. Gold star to you, John. Great to have you with us as always. We get a chance, maybe we'll hook up post-draft and kind of do a recap. Thanks again for being with us.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Thanks
all
for
the things
me.
you provide for all the fans. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That is John Cooper, draft editor. This is Our Lads Draft Guide. Our Lads, you can still order it. You can get the publication, over 200 pages, or you can get the digital version. Go to ourlads.com to place your order now, get it in the mail, or get it in your inbox just like that. Ourlads.com. You love football. This is a must-read for you. Our thanks again to John Cooper for spending as much time as he did. We are at halftime. Our podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they've got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend, they can be your consultant. Go to Dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer, including windows and doors, including renovations, kitchen, bathroom, including things for the patio. You got projects, they got materials. You want ideas, they've got a big tools section too. Dixieline Lumber, serving San Diego for more than 100 years. We are at halftime. Our podcast continuing. And John Riley getting ready to join us here in studio. We again thank John Cooper for joining us, spending as much time as he did from Our Lads Draft Guide. We hope you have enjoyed what we've brought your way. John Riley, taking notes. Are you ready for Thursday's draft?
I am, but I'm working on flipping over these microphones. So give me just a moment here, and I think we'll be in good shape. Okay. And I think, yeah, that one there. Okay, and I think you're good, Hacksaw. You don't need the headphones anymore. Can everyone hear us out there?
Yes, they can.
They can? Okay, good. Well, yeah, that was great with you and John. You guys covered a lot of territory.
He knows football.
Oh, yeah. He was terrific.
And I love talking football. No doubt about that. So, John, we move to the second half here, and we have so many other unique topics on the table. And we're going to start, obviously, with just some news and notes around the National Football League about what just transpired over the weekend going towards the draft. And the rumors are just unbelievable as to what's going to happen in this NFL draft as it relates to trades going forward. It's just spectacular.
I mean, you got some late breaking stories, Lee.
Well, obviously, the big story was that the Cincinnati Bengals traded the number 5 pick to the New York Football Giants for Dexter Lawrence, their Pro Bowl defensive tackle, and promptly signed him to a contract extension. There was a huge argument with the New York Giants just about value, guaranteed money for an aging player. Cincinnati's had just a wretched defense. He's the 4th offseason acquisition by the Bengals, who have a history of not making trades. This is the first trade of their number 1 pick since 1966.
Wow.
They're still doing football in the era of Paul Brown. But they get this guy, and this guy comes in, and they'd already signed Jonathan Allen, big veteran defensive tackle from the Minnesota Vikings, and they had signed Brian Cook, who had been a part-time starting safety with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they signed a starting defensive end from Seattle. So the Bengals spending a lot of money for the first time in a long time on the defensive side of the football. So that's item 1. Item 2, Kansas City is actively trying to trade from number 9 into the top of the first round. Kansas City wants pass rush help. They're talking to Arizona at 3, to the Tennessee Titans. They're trying to trade up. In Philadelphia, it looks like fait accompli. It looks like A.J. Brown's going to New England in some type of big-time trade. They're getting rid of him. It's obvious to me that the Eagles are tired of all the unhappiness and the criticism, and it's obvious to me that Philadelphia feels Jalen Hurts is not the problem. It's somewhere else on the roster. So that's going to be interesting to see if A.J. Brown winds up in New England. By the way, Philadelphia, and this is what doesn't make sense. In the offseason, Philadelphia's added veteran wide receiver Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, who came from Buffalo, and Dante Wicks from Green Bay. None of those guys is equal to A.J. Brown, but they want A.J. Brown out of there. So that's an interesting story. 49ers, we're waiting to see what they're going to do. Free Brandon Ayuk. He's betrayed them. They did not trade him. They have not released him yet. It's a commodity that maybe they'll shop. I don't know what they're going to get because he brings baggage with him, but he also brings skill with him. Or the 49ers going to trade Ayuk before the draft gets started. In terms of the Chargers, Joe Ortiz is just defiant at the media criticism about his lack of spending with all that free agent money he had. He says, I'm not going on spending spree. I sign what I want, and then I'm done. I'm going to go do it through the draft. He says, I like my wide receiver room, which means he's not going to trade Quentin Johnston because they got him dirt cheap for at least one more year. But my problem is he's paid significant money to sign 2 free agent guards who are number 1 picks who failed other places. These guys going to be able to star with the Chargers? I just don't know about that. And then there's a sidebar story coming out of Baltimore. One of their veteran players criticized John Harbaugh. Says Harbaugh is responsible for a lot of the injuries in Baltimore the last 2 years because Harbaugh makes them practice in pads for all 17 weeks. And he says the players are so beat up and so exhausted. That's why Baltimore has not done well in the playoffs. So a lot of unique storylines heading towards the draft, and obviously this disclosure, if you will, with the Baltimore Ravens. Go ahead, respond.
Yeah, we got all this going on with the draft, but we were just talking about all free agency the last, month or two. But my question in free agency is, you're saying the Bengals are spending money, which is good. You want to see all these franchises putting all their cards on the table. My question is what's the difference between the cap and the floor, and how tight of a window is that?
You have to spend to 90% of the cap.
Oh, so it is a tight window.
Yeah. But see, Cincinnati, you're making reference to the Bengals.
Yeah, are they spending enough?
Yeah, they spent all their money on offense to Joe Burrow and the 2 wide receivers.
Okay.
That was the big issue. They did not spend to keep their elite pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson. He's gone. But now the defense was so deplorable last year, so they made 4 acquisitions. Those 2 defensive tackles, Dexter Lawrence and Jonathan Allen, they're making mega money. I mean, they might be 1 and 3 of the highest paid defensive tackles in the league, and they got a lot of mileage on them. So Cincinnati tried to fix it, but their methodology of doing business have been real good.
Interesting. Yeah, so you can't sandbag in the NFL like the Miami Marlins in baseball.
No, exactly, because there is a floor to spending. Everybody does it now. Mm-hmm. Have you done a good job spending your money?
Right.
That's the biggest question.
Right on.
So that's where we are there. I'm excited about the draft. And as John Cooper just alluded to in our first segment, holy cow, there are trade rumors everywhere. I mean, reports say there could be as many as 5 more trades with teams moving up in the draft or moving back in the draft.
Wow. Yeah, it's always a lot of fun. I mean, it's going to be in Pittsburgh this year, right?
Yes.
They let the kids out of school for this.
Yes, exactly. And Aaron Rodgers has not told them whether you love me or love me not.
Right.
Just absolutely amazing. Okay, that's all things NFL. As we're off and running, NFL draft preview is complete. Thursday at 1:30. We will have final news and notes because the draft starts Thursday late afternoon out here. So be with us Thursday at 1:30 because there may be more trades leading into the draft. Where we go from that, we got baseball to talk about.
Yeah, we got a new papa in town.
Yeah, this Jose Feliciano story broke on Friday. This guy is going to pay $3.9 billion to buy the Padres. Sets an all-time record. How did he get involved in baseball? He's tied financially to Dodger minority owner Todd Bowley. They're the ones that bought the Chelsea soccer team in the English Premier League for $5.9 billion, an all-time record. Now, that's been a bumpy road. Feliciano and Bowley have spent enormous amounts of money and have not won. It's kind of sad. There's an anti-American sentiment in England towards American ownership of soccer teams. So they've not gotten the benefit of the doubt, despite how much money they've spent. He inherits $300 million in debt. The bill has come due. He also inherits a $150 million bill that he has to repay to the minority owners for their cash call payments during the Seidler spending sprees. And by the way, he's buying out all 10 minority owners. He will own this thing lock, stock, and barrel.
Really?
The report that I got from soccer people in England that I emailed back and forth with, he is hands-on. He's not laid back. Interesting to see his influence on A.J. Preller, although Preller obviously has this multi-year contract extension. Very unique philosophy, and he said this at a number of press conferences over things he's bought. My stewardship is more than just owning a sports team. My stewardship is influencing the community. This guy, I think, is going to be active in this community, much like the greatness of what Peter Seidler did away from Petco Park. The price. I was staggered. It was 3.9 because the general consensus would be it would set a new record, maybe 2.5. 3.9. Why? It's a unique market. The Padres are the only team in Major League Baseball that is the sole Major League franchise in that market.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else here that compares, so they control the market. That being said, my right hand tells me they've squeezed every penny they can out of this market and out of Petco Park. You've raised your ticket prices, your food prices, the parking prices, 57%. How much higher can you go? Now, Feliciano, business entrepreneur, maybe he makes Petco Park a year-round sports entertainment venue for more than just the things being used right now. Maybe that's how they're going to generate more money to qualify for the $3.9 billion price that he paid. But this is a very unique money. How he solves the TV issue, that's an intangible, John. Padres have lost $60 million in 3 years since they lost their TV contract with the collapse of the regional sports network. They're making $30 million less per year under the baseball umbrella than they used to get under FanDuel, Bally Sports, the old Fox Sports.
Mm-hmm.
So how does Feliciano recapture the kind of TV revenue that the Padres used to have that they don't have and that virtually all the other mid-markets don't have? So this is a really unique man. This man is unbelievably successful. He's got ties to the West Coast. He's got ties to baseball through Dodger ownership. I'm just fascinated to see where this goes. And this will be rubber stamped by the owners in May. And I would assume there'll be a press conference in mid-May to introduce Jose E. Feliciano. But at the end of the day, I think we say thank you to Peter Seidler because his impact on baseball here was just spectacular. He did what John Moores did, what the Kroc family did to save the franchise.
Yeah, this is a big moment.
Yep.
I just think about a new owner. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go sideways. We don't know exactly what we're getting. Now, all the signs are good, that they're saying all the right things. I'm going to make an impact in the community. Let's hope that he's a fan like Peter Seidler was, but not a meddlesome owner like a Steinbrenner or someone else that wants to jack the thing around. And you kind of worry about it a bit because with, the economy and everything, I don't know really what his financial backing is. What if the economy went south? Would he ever be in distress as a sole owner and to have to liquidate or, how, like, it's not going to be like, who was the guy that bought the team on layaway? I mean, where he had, very limited resources.
Jeff
Morad. So like, how deep are the pockets for this guy? And then, by the way, does the purchase of the team also include the purchase of all the real estate around the ballpark? Because that was part of the
That was a Morris Lucchino creation.
Correct. So I'm wondering if he's buying more of that real estate.
I don't think he is.
Interesting, because that's where there's more revenue opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't tapped out this market. I mean, they're selling out all the time, even after tickets go up and concessions are expensive. They still sell out. Did you see the mob scene when they had the puffer vest?
Yes.
It was crazy.
End of the day, his personal wealth, I was told, is over $12 billion. His capital investment firm's wealth is $90 billion.
Oh, those are some good assets.
Yes. So that's where we are. Only time will tell. Get to mid-May, see what the next press conference is. So we go from that ownership, talk about on the field.
Talking about on the field, we got the MLB notebook, Padres news.
Padres. Okay. Should I preface this right now by saying what these people are going to say on Fans Forum? They're going to say, Hacksaw, shut up. Shut the bleep up.
They say that all the time.
So the Padres are 15-7. The Padres pitching staff is just grinding it through. Padres as a team are still not hitting very much. Thank goodness the Padres have played collectively teams that right now are 13 games under 500 to start the season. Hacksaw, shut up. They're 15-7. My response, you play who's on the schedule. Teeth of the schedule is still to come. Michael King. Man, you talk about grinding. Did not have his stuff, but he weathered 5 innings, no runs, 1 hit, did walk 4. Prior to that, Marquez and Buehler combined 10 impressive, grinded out innings. I mean, it's kind of interesting to see how these guys are doing it. And it's fascinating to see Sir Smoke, Mason Miller. 8 saves, 8 outings, 27 strikeouts in 11 innings. He's struck out 27 of the 33 guys have come to the plate with a bat in their hand. Now, the batting order, they score 6 runs in 27 innings against the Angels. Mm-hmm. The Angels are 90 and 99 losses. That's not good. Tatis, no home runs in 22 games. Machado, 186. Merrill, 221. Cronenworth, 149. Hacksaw, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
They're 15-7.
Exactly I'm thinking.
Okay, so that's where we are with the Padres. Your record says what your record says you are. They're in second place. They have the second best record in Major League Baseball. Thank goodness they played as many bad teams as they've played so far. That's Padre baseball. Let's talk about the Dodgers. He got an issue. Now, how could the Dodgers have an issue with that payroll? They got an issue. Edwin Diaz, who they gave $69 million to, has evidently re-injured the knee he injured in the World Baseball Classic, and he's lost his velocity.
No way.
Yes. His velocity at one point was 98, it's down to 94, and he's getting lit. His ERA is 10.50. I'm just quoting you the statistics today. Is the world about to end? No, I don't think so. Stop playing the violin, John. But at the end of the day, he's not the same pitcher. Neither is Roki Sasaki. Somebody's pretty obstinate in the Dodger dugout. In 17 innings, Roki has given up 21 hits, has walked 12, and has hit 3. He's got 17 strikeouts. His ERA is 6.11. He's yet, in 4 starts, to master his third pitch. And yet they keep sending him out there, running his pitch count up. 6.11 ERA. The dude in the bullpen at the end of last season had a 0.78 ERA. Why don't you just take him out of the rotation that he can't polish, put him back to the bullpen, and let him be what he could be? Big difference between ERA this morning versus 0.78 ERA last year. And they got one other problem. You know, they got Dalton Rushing, who's had a really good year with a stick, the young catcher. There's a fear, there's an innuendo that he's tipping off pitches. And when he catches, his pitchers are getting battered.
Oh,
they haven't found it yet, but they're looking closely as to whether when he puts his hands down to do the signals, something's not right, or whether they're tipping off pitches with pitch count. I don't quite understand it.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, so that's a concern there. Angels. They may not like what I say. They've had a good start to the season. They're 11-12, which I never imagined that was possible. They've blown six games because of their bullpen so far. But they ran out a rookie pitcher yesterday who was really impressive, Wilbert Urena. 6 innings, 1 run allowed, 8 strikeouts. He was in his first major league start. And they're really excited down at Salt Lake City with Caden Dana, Ryan Johnson, who's now back there polishing, and, of course, Jack Kochanowicz, who's up with the big up. They think they're on the brink of all these young starters evolving. Well, till they get there and do it at the major league level every 4th or 5th day, I'm going to reserve judgment on that. How about Padre fan? Padre fan took over Anaheim Stadium.
Totally.
They announced on TV, 44,000 fans. I swear to you, half of them were Padre fans.
They're all chanting, holy sheets.
Yeah, Angel fan looking at Padre fan next to him who was chanting holy sheets. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Just a minute, Padre fans. That was pretty damn impressive. So the Padres winning those games there. So that's where we are. New York Mets, losing streak, 11 in a row. Roster is a total disaster. They've scored 19 runs in 11 games in this losing streak. Of course, there is no Juan Soto. Lindor is playing really bad baseball. Bichette's not hitting. He's getting booed. Polanco's on the disabled list, and now they're coming home. Those fans are not happy. 11-game losing streak as they play tonight. Hey, here's a historical note. Do you know this past weekend? 1958. Dodgers, Giants, first game, LA Coliseum. 1958, this past weekend.
That's where they put the big net in left field.
78,672 fans had hot dogs and watched home run balls.
That's great.
Fly over the screen. Left field foul line in the LA Coliseum that entire season was 250 feet.
Right on.
Left center, power alley, 278 feet. Do you remember veteran outfielder Wally Moon? He was a star with the Cardinals and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Flares to left field, over the fence. He mastered it. They call them moon shots.
That's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Interesting.
So anyhow, this past weekend, this past Saturday, Sunday, was the debut of Dodger Giant baseball at the LA Coliseum. And the last baseball topic, I saw the press conference, just like all the other stuff he's done in his life. Trevor Bauer was just in defiant square attitude. He told the media on Long Island, because he's pitching in the Independent League tomorrow night, his first start. I have nothing to prove. I'm good enough to pitch. I did nothing wrong, and the baseball gods should smile on me. All that from Trevor Bauer.
Well, he got screwed.
Well, you don't think he screwed himself?
Well, there's some of that.
Yes. Yeah. So anyhow, so start with the Padres, work your way through the Dodgers, what happened at the Big A, the Mets, etc.
I really enjoyed the Padres-Angels series. I mean, because, we talk about the Angels a lot and we get headlines and stuff, but it was just nice to sit down with the Angel lineup and get to know the guys, and then they had the passing of Garrett Anderson, which was really a sad moment. And he was a special guy, a special player. I remember him for sure.
Sure.
But I was thinking to myself, man, look at the people in Anaheim. They're all showing up, and it's a beautiful day in Southern California.
But they're wearing Padre jerseys.
There were a lot of Padre fans there, which was great. And so it was great seeing Soriano. I mean, that guy is legit. I mean, that sinker ball, I mean, the players are always hitting it into the ground. I mean, he looked terrific.
I don't know anybody who's got a 0.28 ERA. Do you?
No, especially from the Angels. Who would have thunk, But, you got to appreciate Michael King for, really grinding through, getting, 106 pitches in 5 innings, and he found a way. But consider that they're not only second place in the NL West, second place record in all of baseball. They've won more than 2 out of 3. And that's without Machado hitting. That's without Merrill hitting. And that's with Tatis only kind of hitting, So the trajectory is pointing up on these guys.
So you think anybody's going to join us in Fans Forum and say Hacksaw Shut the hell up.
Well, yeah, because you're such a Debbie Downer. You're always like, the sky is falling. I don't know about, Herman Marquez.
So you don't think there's any credibility they played teams that are collectively 13 under 500 3 weeks into the season?
Yeah. You, just like you said, you play who the schedule gives you, and you just keep going. The Angels are a much improved team. So, we'll see how they do. They're going to play the Rockies next, I think, by the way.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God. The Rockies took care of business with the Dodgers.
So you're not going to fire me from this podcast. You think this would be a better podcast with the mascot, the barking beagle, doing it?
Yeah, man. You're just something, man. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to L.A. The Dalton Rushing conspiracy, about what is he doing to tip pitches. I kind of wonder if a catcher subliminally sets up behind the plate in a certain squat position if they know it's going to be a breaking pitch or not.
Yep.
Something like that.
But you get pitch.com. So, I mean, that shouldn't, I don't think that'd be a problem. I don't, this kind of sounds like 2 weeks ago, like, oh my God, the umpires are giving Ohtani all this extra time. They're favoring the Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's always picking on the Dodgers, But I feel bad for Diaz. He's a hell of a player, but he lost some juice on that fastball. That's a shame.
Yeah, but the knee injury that could be realistic.
Yeah, and I was such a bum knee injury because during the celebration,
for the jumping up and down.
Yeah, so you just felt so bad for the guy. It is. I did remember seeing pictures of the LA Coliseum with that big net there, and you can just imagine, like, the old time LA Hollywood crowd, and they finally feel legitimized as a city, and they all show up for Major League Baseball, and who are they playing? The Cardinals or some other teams. And that's a special moment for LA.
Oh, yeah. Moonshots. I remember seeing it. And I saw a picture from an angle today, from a third base angle, looking out to the fence and around the Coliseum. I mean, it was so weird because the dimension to dead center field and right field was like 3 miles.
Well, how long did they play in the Coliseum? Maybe 3 years or something?
3 years, and then they opened Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, that's after they kicked out all the Hispanic folks up in Chavez Ravine. That's an ugly story, by the way, Lee.
Okay, that's all things baseball. And again, the Fans Forum chat box is open, reminding you if you enjoyed our NFL draft preview, you got questions, comments, and statements, jump into the Fans Forum chat box. You want to react to some of the stuff on the Baseball Notebook, feel free to join us there. We'll go from that. Let's talk hoops.
Hoops. The NBA playoffs are underway, Lee.
Boy, oh boy. Lakers won the first game in the series against Houston. I'm not sure that I saw this coming. I'm not so sure that this was a Laker win as much as it was a really bad Houston loss. That thing started like a raging fire. Shootout, first quarter, became a slog the rest of the game. Lakers shot 79% in the first quarter. Houston did not play a lick of defense.
Lighten it up.
Lakers hit 12 of the first 15 shots. And all that, in the second quarter, they gave it all back. After dominating, they only led 50-48 at halftime. Third quarter, Rockets went 3 for 17 from the floor. They were abysmal, and the Lakers ratcheted up their defense. Luke Kennard, who? 27 points.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton, who? Not MIA, at least in game one. He had 19 points. LeBron had 19. For the whole game, Rockets shot only 38%. Of course, there was no Kevin Durant. Showed up with a bruised knee. Alp Segun was only 6 for 18 shooting. He just had a really tough day trying to do it by himself. But the biggest issue to me is just the stupidity of what they are on offense. I mean, Ime Udoka might be a really great defensive coach, and he teaches rebounding, and they're fierce at that end of the floor. But they are just so egregious in terms of bad passes, turnovers, stupid shots. I don't know how Houston tolerates. It's been going on all year long. That's what really cost them the game. Game had 31 turnovers and 47 fouls in the course of the game. So one win for the Lakers. We'll see what Tuesday night is like. But can the Lakers continue to play this way? Can Kennard and Ayton continue to play this way? That remains to be seen. Oklahoma City. Yeah, they're playing in another galaxy. I don't know if you saw what they did in game one, but it was a travesty.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow. They had a 31-point lead over the Phoenix Suns in the third quarter. SGA and Jalen Williams, both ex-Clippers, by the way, combined for 47, and the Suns shot 31% from the floor. So, Oklahoma City, the real deal. San Antonio, they stormed to a victory. Wembanyama went crazy in the first half last night, got them the big lead, and they surged. Got to keep that roster healthy. That's a pretty good San Antonio team. Detroit, number 1 seed, blown out at home. How is this possible? Pistons lose at home. Orlando had an 18-5 lead before I sat down with the first bottle of Mountain Dew. Couldn't believe it. Cade Cunningham went off for 39. The rest of the team shot 21% from the floor. How gruesome was that? Detroit, which is the best team in the East, they have now lost 11 games in a row in the playoffs at home. It goes back years. So we'll see if they come out with anger in their eyes in game 2. I couldn't believe Orlando beat those guys. Boston, 123 points as they destroyed the Philadelphia 76ers. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum combined for 51. What a bomb job that was. Sixers shot 39% from the floor. Cavaliers served notice. They could be dangerous. 126 points against Toronto. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, 2 guys he traded for over the last 2 years, combined for 54 points. So that's where we were. First game, first round, NBA playoffs. You surprised at what the Lakers did to Houston or what Houston did to Houston itself?
We were talking for weeks that they were going to be one and done.
Yeah.
And so when this game went down, I was like, oh, wow, the Lakers are showing me more than I expected. So, I mean, let's just think a bit here. If they advance to the second round, will Luka come back in time? Will Austin Reeves come back?
Reeves won't. They're saying maybe Luka will. Luka's back there, but he's not practicing. He flew home from Spain. He had 3 platelet plasma injections on the hamstring in that unique European cycle of medications. But I don't know that he plays in the first round. But can I get that? It's one win.
It's still. Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised by that. And so I just thought, okay, there's something there. So let's see. I'll give them a little more slack, as it will. As far as the other games go, well, first of all, isn't it great? We get to watch hockey and basketball playoffs. There are all of these games on over the weekend.
Split screen.
Yeah, exactly. So there's just a lot to love about all of this. But when you look at these teams, to your point, you've made this before, but it's like there are different tiers of NBA playoff teams.
Oh, OKC and San Antonio are up here. Detroit might be here with Boston, and everybody else is just playing to get eliminated.
Yeah, but that was the one exception to that rule of tiers. What the hell happened to the Pistons?
Yeah.
I mean, and I was watching them and getting to see Cade Cunningham out there, because I don't usually get to see the Pistons very often.
Great player.
But he was terrific. Yeah, he's a really good player. So this is a great time of the year, Lee, man. I mean, Lakers will see if they can keep it rolling.
Not enough hours of the day to watch all this, but we did on the weekend. Okay, that's all things NBA. You got an opinion. Is it the real Lakers team, or is Houston just so careless with the basketball, they're inviting you to get your ass kicked? We go from that to let's talk about a team that's not playing.
Yeah, the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr.
Goodbye, Golden State. I tell you, you talk about strange body language, strange comments. So his main comment after they got eliminated at the end of the season, a play-in game, coaching jobs have expiration dates. And to watch him and his body language on the floor at the end of the game, where he brought Curry and Draymond Green together and put his arms around them, and he personally thanked them for everything they had done for Golden State Warrior basketball over this long haul. And he said, I love you guys. Thank you for your careers. Wow. I think he's going to step away. I really do. Now, this might be a bit of an organizational critique. They're the ones that pushed out Bobby Myers, who had been their general manager during these glory years that put that roster together. And they're the ones that let Klay Thompson go. They're the ones that failed to nurture and grow the young kid, Jonathan Kuminga. They had what we thought was a dynasty, an empire, and they kind of failed to build on it. So, this is more of an organizational issue than it is just Steve Kerr. It is obviously players get old, players get injured, rosters go through transition. So I don't know. I just looked at his body language at the end of the game and then the post-game press conference. I thought he might be stepping away. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the body language was definitely that. I mean, because it's time, I mean, Draymond, yeah, you say Clay's gone. Draymond's still there, but he's got probably more gray hair than he has dark colored hair. Mm-hmm. And then, Steph is showing his age a bit at times.
And he's hurt.
So, but Steve Kerr, I mean, let's give it up for Steve Kerr. I mean, that guy, when he went in to coach the Warriors, he was coming off of the broadcast booth, right? I mean, had he ever coached before? I don't know if he ever did. And he has just been so good as a coach, building a culture there. And then just a really intelligent, outspoken person on society and cultural issues, especially given his family background and everything he's been through growing up. I mean, just a first-class guy, I just still remember when he played at U of A and he hit the three-pointers and they'd go, Steve Kerr, so this guy is just a lock in the Hall of Fame, don't you think?
Yes, very much so. So that's where we are with Golden State. I think there's going to be a change in the guard up there, and that was a great man. It really was. We go from hoops, let's talk puck.
Hockey hotline.
No, we got stories everywhere. Big hockey game tonight. Anaheim Ducks, Edmonton Oilers on the road. I've tried to think a catchy phrase. I know you're going to say, Hacksaw, shut up. From darkness to daylight.
Oh.
That's what Ducks hockey has become. 7 years in the rebuild. I mean, this has been a pretty interesting season. They spent a chunk of time in first place. But will the moment be too big for a young Ducks hockey team when they go on the ice against Edmonton? Anaheim needs its veterans to step up. The kids are going to have to hold up. First time ever in the playoffs. Another phrase, magnitude of the moment. I mean, as great as the Oilers have been in the Connor McDavid-Draisaitl era, they've never won a cup. That's 13 years running. They've never won a cup, which is stunning. Somebody needs to have a goaltender come up hot. Lucas Destau has not been dominant in the Ducks' goals since the Olympics. Connor Ingram is the next guy that's being given this opportunity in Edmonton, and I don't think he's that great, and I don't think their defense in front of them is very great. But for the Ducks, how do you control 97 and 29? How do you control McDavid and Draisaitl? And there's an intangible here. Joe Kenville, great coach. Joe Kenville's been in the Stanley Cup as a player, won the Stanley Cup as a coach. Can he help influence what Cutter Gauthier, Troy Terry, Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, and a really young defense? Can he stabilize those guys? But he's not taking shifts with them. This is going to be a hell of a game. I think the one thing aside from Kenville is all the veterans that Pat Verbeek traded for, they have to man up. They really have to play, and they've not played well the second half of the season. The Ducks lost 7 of their last 8 games, and they've held from first place to fourth place and lost home ice advantage. So I'll be intrigued, but like I say, from darkness to daylight, the growth of this team has been really spectacular. But the magnitude of the moment, this is Edmonton. That's on their ice in that arena with those fans who are crazy. Dudes singing the "Oh Canada" in the middle of the crowd. Yeah.
That guy's great.
Oh, so this must-see TV. Ducks versus the Edmonton Oilers. Kings, Colorado. Very interesting first game up on the road in Denver. Avalanche firepower, just way too much. Kings goaltender Anton Forsberg, who's not the starter, but has played really well down the stretch. Forsberg stood on his head, but he couldn't keep him off the score sheet. Kings goal scoring continues to be a scuffle. The Avs dictated the tempo in the course of the game. They clogged the neutral zone, never let the Kings get any speed into the zone with the puck. They checked him into the ice. Traffic around Forsberg in front of him was just ungodly. Now, post-game, all the Kings were talking about the experience. DJ Smith, the interim coach, how well we played. Please, time out. There's no moral victories in the NHL playoffs. They're not giving out participation trophies. This Colorado is really good. I thought it was more lopsided win than the 2-1 score showed. Montreal. Wow. How impressive was that? Montreal went into Tampa Bay. Bad blood, a lot of history there. Heavy hockey. We knew the Lightning were going to bang them. Brute strength versus Montreal's speed. And a shocking upset on the road. The Canadiens beat the Lightning in their building on the Suncoast. Yaroslav Slavatsky, Russian, 3 power play goals. They just never went away. They kept attacking. They kept coming back. Lightning scored 2 goals in 29 seconds. I thought this is the end of it. Montreal's going to cave. They never caved. The traffic in front of Jacob Dobesh, the European goaltender, was just amazing. And yet he made a ton of big saves. Kucherov is spectacular. All 44 goals of him in Tampa. But Caulfield, Suzuki, not intimidated for Montreal on the ice. They tried to run them. They tried to mug them. Those guys just coming back for more. It was experience versus kids. Now, they got 1 win in their pocket. It's interesting. Tampa is 1-8 in playoff games at home in the last 3 years, which is really weird. But it only counts as 1. I still have my philosophy. I know you're going to say, Hacksaw, shut up again. My philosophy is young teams have to walk down the hallway the first time and go through the experience. Whether you're the young team that's the Ducks or the young team that is Montreal, you have to learn how to do this. But Montreal won, which to me was the stunner of all time. Briefly elsewhere, Winnipeg did not make the playoffs, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of theories that there's going to be some bloodletting. Should it be the coach? Should it be the roster? Connor Hellebuck, at their exit interviews on the weekend, stood up and said, this is unacceptable. This is not Winnipeg Jets hockey. The way this team played, the way we work this roster, we owe the fans a lot more. We need to get players in here who want to be here and are going to work the way they should. This is from your superstar Olympic goaltender. He was just very, very vocal. Last hockey topic. They made the playoffs. San Diego Gulls.
Hey.
First time in 5 years. But because of the rules, and they were the last one in to qualify in the Pacific Division, they got to go on the road. All the playoff games will be on the road. No home games, which is too bad because their home final on Saturday, they drew 12,000 plus.
Oh, wow.
If they could have had home playoff games, what a home ice advantage it would be for the Gulls. They need the goaltender Kalle Klang, who hasn't played this week because they signed a goalie out of Sweden. They wanted to give him some chances at the end of the season. They need Kalle Klang back in between the pipes to come up red hot. They're going to need their veterans. Justin Bailey had 25 goals this year. Ryan Carpenter, those guys got to score some goals. None of the kids had breakout seasons. I'm kind of stunned. I thought Sam Colangelo and Igor Sidorov would have 25 goal seasons, and they did not. Of course, the Ducks took Tim Wash, the rookie from Western Michigan, brought him to the big club, and he stayed up there for the most part. So some of the Euro kids, the young kids, have not scored at all. And I feel bad because I think that Matt McElvain, the coach, has done a good job coaching these young kids together, and they had a chunk at midseason where they played really well. But geez, the AHL rules, and it's economics. We're not going to be on planes going back and forth. They got to play all 3 games in Colorado. That's going to be a bitch.
But if they win, then they'll get some home games the next round, right?
We think. We don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think you would know that.
But this is all economics.
Hey, so, you were talking about the Ducks. You're saying they're going from darkness to the light.
To daylight.
I like that analogy, but the way they finished the season, it's like they regress back into the shade. I mean, what
they stopped scoring goals. The kids stopped scoring goals.
Wow.
And Cutter Gauthier was hurt for a little bit of that, but the veterans have not stepped up. I mean, they're paying a lot of money to the Kreiders and the Stroms of the world. They need some of those guys and these guys have scored in the past. They need them to score goals to complement the kids. So, yeah, this won't be easy. That's a tough place to play. Holy cow.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at least the Kings aren't going back there again.
Yeah, well, but the Kings have their own set of issues.
Yeah, they do. But, the Kings scored that 1 goal real late.
Yep.
To make it a 1-goal contest. I thought they they could have caught lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, but that was 2.5 minutes to go when they finally scored that goal. And so we'll see what game 2 is. But Colorado's so good, so deep. And you just tell them what style of game you want to play, and they'll play it.
Wow.
You want to check? You want to bang? They got the bodies to do it. You want to skate? They got the firepower to do it. So I don't think the Kings do. So,
all right.
But I'll be fascinated to see tonight, Ducks, Edmonton Oilers, Frosted Glass, Molson's Canadian.
Yeah.
When I come back here to watch it with you, but we'll see where the Ducks are. But like I say, young teams have to walk down the hallway the first time in postseason, and these kids have never been at this level.
Think about it. This is a really great time in sports.
Oh,
you got the NHL playoffs, you got the NBA playoffs, you got the NFL draft,
and you got baseball.
And baseball's cooking. I always said March and October were the best baseball months, but may have to add April to the list.
It's pretty cool right now.
Yeah.
Okay, last set of topics on the table before the fans get the chance to take over the rest of this podcast. It's been an extended podcast today with a lot of information. Go ahead.
Yeah, San Diego FC, another loss.
Overwhelmed. Not the same team, John. Losing to Real Salt Lake. We're never in the game. Lose 4-2. Gave up goals at the 4 and the 6 minute mark. Gave up 4 goals in 45 minutes. The young goaltender Ferry looks like he's just overwhelmed. He made a pass in his box off the left wing right to a Real Salt Lake guy who scored.
No way. That's almost like an own goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was trying to get it out on the flank to a fullback to get it up the sidelines.
Wow.
And he didn't see him. It was just a nonchalant pass. All of a sudden, Real Salt Lake guy jumps it. It's in the back of the net.
Not paying attention.
Yeah. So they're not the same team, and they're not the same team defensively, I don't think, around the box, around that goalkeeper. And again, they've had a lot of roster changes. And I think people are marking Andre Dreyer out of games. He's not getting the scoring opportunities. And, I'll spin back. Please tell me where the player from Scotland, Lewis Morgan, is. He's playing and he's not scoring. Where's Pellegrino, who played really well the second half of last season through the playoffs? He has yet to score a goal. Overall, they had the nice start, and then they won that first game in that Champions League tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And since that time, they're 0-4-2.
Yeah, I'm not used to this.
No. And Mikey Veras says, we can work through this. Well, you're not working through it right now. Instead, you seem to go in the wrong direction. Maybe they need to go to the backup goalie. Maybe they need to find out if CJ Santos can play, because he's been out since he had the fractured orbital bone at the end of last season, the surgery. They say he's practicing and he's ready. Well, maybe you need to play him because Free looks like he's getting a little bit overwhelmed. So kind of stunning. I know we don't get many soccer people on Fans Forum. Somebody who's an SDFC fan, jump on board, give us an opinion as to where they are right now collectively. Big weekend English Premier League. Wow. Arsenal, been in first place all year. Arsenal gets beat by Manchester City. That was an English Premier League showdown. So Manchester City now pulls to within 3 points of Arsenal in the final weeks of the season, but it got a game in hand, and Arsenal's got a tough schedule ahead. I mean, this would be an epic collapse. Erling Haaland, key goal late in the City win after he got headbutted by an Arsenal player who was marking him. Guy was right up to him, marking him, whacked him in the face with his forehead. Just absolutely amazing. And they did not red card the guy. How's that possible?
Wow.
So that's an interesting story there. City looks like it's got all the momentum, thanks to Erling Haaland. The next one, you wouldn't recognize this. I've been to this place. They love this franchise. Coventry City is the first team in the lower division to get elevated to the Premier League.
Right on.
The bottom 3 teams in the English Premier League get demoted. The top 3 teams in the Championship League, which is the second league, get promoted. Coventry City is the first one. What's so important about that? Well, it's coached by Frank Lampard, legendary EPL star. He has taken Coventry City from 4th division to the Premier League in 3 years. That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And why is Coventry City important? Coventry City, history lesson. That was the city in England that was destroyed by the Nazis at the start of World War II, was obliterated.
The Blitz.
The Blitz. I mean, totally flattened. Destroyed the city, killed everybody. I visited Coventry City. I went to their World War II museum. It's unbelievable. But they love that team. And that team is going to the English Premier League next year. So that's kind of a cool story. Auto racing. I'm looking for anybody that follows F1 aside from me. Emergency meeting going on right now. Formula One owners talking about changes to the hybrid battery engine ratio. And this has split the ownership of F1. We've talked extensively on this podcast because it's a big story in auto racing. The drivers are just enraged that these cars are so tough to handle and that F1 made all these drastic changes with the 2026 cars, and the drivers are furious. So last week, F1 met with engineers, talked about potential changes to the hybrid engine as it impacts power plants and batteries. But everybody's bitching. They're bitching because F1 is acting as if, well, just because Red Bull, Max Verstappen's team's having all this trouble, we need to change all the rules for Red Bull. Mercedes says, that's not our problem. It's not Ferrari's problem. It's Red Bull's problem. Their team can't figure it out. Everybody else has. So this meeting in which they're going to talk about major changes, because they had a 5-week hiatus from the F1 schedule, and they're doing all this research. So there's a lot of people there that are of the opinion you can't change the rules for auto racing and the cars just to appease Max Verstappen and Team Red Bull. Just amazing. And by the way, speaking of Verstappen, I don't know if you read this story. On this off weekend of F1, he went to race in a German road rally at this track. I think it's called the Nürburgring. It's a 13-mile track through the countryside of Germany. There was a terrible accident in the race that he was in, 6-car accident, and a German driver got killed. That's the same track that Niki Lauda had his terrible accident in which he nearly burned to death. And F1 pulled its races from the track because the track is so dangerous. Now, Verstappen was not caught up in the 6-car wreck, but he was in that race where the driver got killed. That's an interesting story there. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. By tomorrow, we'll have a much more definition as to what changes they're going to propose. They're going to have 2 weeks for the teams to make adjustments to the hybrid engines before the schedule resumes. So we got that. NASCAR. How about Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan, Tyler Reddick, they won again. Kansas 400. I've never seen an ending like this. And I just happened to be dialing by and said, I wonder if this race is over. I punched up, it was there. They had a 2-lap restart right at the end because of a yellow flag. So Tyler Reddick, on the restart, loses control, scrapes the wall, and cars are going by him. Somehow he got the car under control, drove back to the head pack, darted inside in traffic, got low, slingshotted his way across the finish line. He won his 5th race of the season for Michael Jordan.
MJ.
Yeah. And he hit the wall. No, you hit the wall, that's it. You got chassis damage, tire damage, you hit the wall. He hit the wall and ricocheted out and made a direct beeline when he found an open seam to go down low and get the victory. Daring pass. IndyCar, Long Beach Grand Prix, 50th anniversary. They run the streets of Long Beach. Alex Palou, another victory. He did it on pit stops. Everybody made pit stops with 34 laps to go. Everybody had tire problems. He beat the leaders out of the pack. He took a 3-second deficit, made it a 6-second victory. You talk about driving on the edge. Alex Palou, another victory for the Chip Ganassi team. Tire problems wiped out Joseph Newgarden, Lundqvist, and all the other leaders. It was just really amazing finish. So, John, go ahead. Solve SDFC's problem. Take it from there.
No, I just like the Coventry City story.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, because You laid the history lesson. I like that. Like talking about, World War II and the Blitz and everything else. Is it, how far out of London is that?
Oh, I want to say 50, 70 miles. I can't even remember which direction. I think it's to the northwest of London. But I went there on a tour.
You did?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was just looking at the logo, and the logo is great. It's got like a lot of, there's a lot going on in that logo, but it's got a lot of sort of like medieval, England, Britain kind of baked into the artwork, and I kind of like that. But it's a great story. I love relegation and that the whole idea. I wish other sports would embrace it.
Some people are thinking in that direction, but that's kind of radical, though.
It is radical, but it's great because, then you want an anti-tanking rule. That might be a good one. What do you think?
Miami Marlins in the International League?
No, I'm thinking of like taking like the Utah Jazz and sending them down to the G League or something.
Oh my goodness.
The Long Beach Grand Prix. I went to that race like maybe 5 years ago, and it was it wasn't the Indy cars though. It was like BMW and Corvette.
Yeah,
and
there's some road races there too.
Yeah, but it was really interesting.
I covered it. I did my talk show up there one year, and I stood there and I watched these guys fly in on the street. It's on a street course.
Yeah.
And holy cow, the speeds are turning and then throttling down to get through the corners. Wow.
And then do you see that one turn where they have like a roundabout with a fountain in the middle?
Yeah.
You got to kind of, go around that. But that was just that when I went to that, was the speed of the cars was incredible, but just all the other things outside of the track, because there were exhibits and you get to see some of these cars, on display. As a newbie to that whole world, it was a great event.
Yeah. Unbelievable to experience it. To experience that. And I've experienced Fontana Super Speedway, being on the pit wall with NASCAR. And obviously I've experienced the Indy 500. Wow.
The Indy 500, that's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
That's a big party for Indianapolis.
Yeah, you can't see the whole track because the track is so freaking big. But what an absolute event. Okay, we put a lot of topics on the table. Just absolutely amazing what we've done today. And again, we hope you've enjoyed the NFL Draft Preview as in-depth as we did with John Cooper from Ourlads Draft Guide. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego, and by Ourlads Draft Guide. Draft is Thursday. You can still order the magazine. You can get the print edition, or you can get the digital one to your inbox. Just go to ourlads.com. It's the upper left-hand corner on the homepage. Place your order right now. Ask for the digital one. You won't believe the information you have. It's a must read if you're a fan. John, just a couple of notes. When we're done, because we do sports talk the way it should be done with topics on the table, fans take it over. So everybody's watching us today, live stream. How do they jump into the last minute for Fans Forum?
Yeah, it's your chance to get involved. Just get in the live chat on YouTube, X, or Facebook. We'll see you on the screen. We'll click you into Fans Forum.
Okay. Want you to help us grow this thing. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. On Apple, give us the 5-star rating. Really helps us a great deal. I'm ready. You're ready. We got a half-hour Fans Forum because this is such an expanded show today, jam-packed with information. John, where do you want to start?
Okay, let's go here to Callan. Afternoon, gents. I was going to ask about SDFC laying another egg, but I'd rather talk about Jose Feliciano and his wife outmaneuvering LeCobb, Friedkin, and Gores to win the bid for the Pods. Thoughts?
Oh, bottom line, Todd Bowley, the Dodger minority owner, and Feliciano business relationship in their equity. They're the ones that bought Chelsea. He hand-carried Feliciano's resume to major league owners. And the reason they got the franchise is he wrote a check for $3.9 billion. Everybody else was in the 2.5 area. So he just wrote the check. So I think that's why it's going to be approved. Does have a good track record. It can be fascinating to see. I would have thought a week ago, John and I talked about this, I thought Friedkin from Houston probably had an inside track because he had bid on other major league teams and had come pretty close to getting it. So we'll find out who he is. We'll find out sometime in mid-May. I was told he's hands-on. He's going to have to find ways to create additional revenue streams. And maybe they make Petco Park some type of super entertainment center in addition to being the home of baseball. He's also got to solve the TV contract thing because these teams, I think there's 16 teams now that Major League Baseball has under its umbrella. they're getting only 50% of the TV revenue. And that's a lot of money lost. I mean, where the Padres used to get 60, they're getting 30. Getting 30 the last 3 years. So that's a lot of money that they're missing out on. And it's the same with the Twins and the Pirates and so many other people.
You know, when the Padres had Peter Seidler, that was like the dream owner. I mean, I can't imagine a better owner than Peter Seidler in terms of a guy that legitimately loved the team, wanted to win, and is willing to pull money out of his pocket. Because how many times in Padre history we complain that, you know, our owners are cheapskates or they have the team on layaway? So our expectations are very high. You know, and since John Seidler took it over, it's sort of kind of spending about the same, maybe a little less. So I'm curious to learn more about Jose Feliciano. And by the way, there's got to be, he must get that joke all the time, comparing him to the country singer. But I want to learn more about his wife, Kwanzaa. She seems like a personality.
She's just very successful. In her own entities, too. So that's where we are. Thanks, Callum. We'll see where this goes.
Okay, let's go down here to, who is this? Gale Force Property Maintenance. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Any update on Julio Urias and his possible return to Major League Baseball?
The agent, Scott Boras, says that there have been no offers, that Urias is not indicated, that Boras is allowed to talk to anybody. Urias was found. We broke the story here. He was found in Chihuahua in southern Mexico, living and playing ball with kids, not working out on his own. So at this point, maybe he's lost interest. Maybe he's made enough money. He is cleared to come back to baseball. I would have thought at this point in time that he would have gotten an offer, probably a minimum offer, to come back to baseball. But the agent says he's not been authorized to talk to anybody. Maybe he doesn't care anymore.
There's just such desperation for pitching. It's still amazing that both him and Bauer aren't back in the league. Because, I mean, some teams, they don't have enough. You know, so it is weird, though. I mean, Urias has that background. Maybe they just don't want to touch him.
Could be. Bauer's got a background. He's toxic. Nobody's touched him, but he's got age. I mean, Urias was 60-25 with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I remember when he broke through. I think he might have still been a teenager. I always like Urias because he had those white glasses. You know, he kind of had a unique look.
He has an eye deformity, and yet he was a dominant pitcher.
Yeah, he did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep on going. Let's go to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, you think the Rams, up their pick, or do they trade it? And if they keep their pick, which direction do you think they go?
Well, one of the intangible questions is, what do they know about the mental health status of Puka Nacua? That's a big issue because he's still in rehab. And he was acting very bizarrely in December, January, February before he entered this rehab center. So do they take wide receiver? I still think they need offensive tackle, but that's really late in the first round. I don't think there's a lot of great offensive tackles. There's more offensive guards than there are tackles. So that's a huge question. Do they have the ability to trade up? Boy, where are they, 24 in the draft? I mean, to go from 24 inside the top 10, you got to really overpay. I don't know if they want to do that. And there's another story that's breaking this afternoon. Jimmy Garoppolo has told them he's thinking of retiring. So they're going to need to configure what they're going to do for a backup quarterback of the future. Do they do that with that first round pick?
Well, interesting. I mean, because just to follow up on that, Carlos mentioned, good afternoon, gents. LA Rams, do you believe they should start focusing on finding a replacement for Stafford?
Well, Matthew's 38 going on 39. I mean, you're going to have to do it sometime. They don't really have a backup. If Garoppolo is walked away from football, and that's the story that was breaking about a half hour before I came on the air with you guys. The only other quarterback is Stetson Bennett, who's been there 3 years, but he's never proven he can play. So that they're going to have to go find somebody for the future. Now, there are quarterbacks you could, as John Cooper told us on our draft preview, there are quarterbacks you can draft and develop. You sit them and play them a year or two down road. So maybe there's a gem out there. Really interesting question. Thursday will be fascinating because I think there's going to be a flurry of trades.
Jimmy G thinking of retiring.
Yeah,
maybe he's a good-looking young man. He maybe has a future in Hollywood.
Yeah, he hadn't played that much. I didn't realize he'd been in the league 12 years.
Yeah, he's always just kind of been hanging around.
No, he's always been hurt.
Yeah, well, do you have to stick around the league for a certain amount of time before you get a pension?
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay, so he cleared that hurdle.
He's in great shape.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see what Thursday brings. You won't want to miss Thursday's draft show.
Okay, let's go here to John. Hey, Padres selling for $3.9 billion. Wondering if that is giving our favorite punching bag, Dean Spanis, a heart attack. I hope this guy is the real deal and not the 21st century version of Tom Werner.
Well, this is the uniqueness of the market, that it is a Padre-owned market. This was a Chargers market before Spanos decided to turn his back on 55 years of loyalty and screw everybody and go to Los Angeles, where he's on the periphery of the world now. But at the end of the day, that's an unbelievable price tag. And remember, he's paying $3.9 billion, but he's paying off the $300 million debt that Seidler incurred and $150 million that he has to pay the minority owners for the cash call money they poured in. When Peter Seidler went on that spending spree 5-6 years ago, the biggest media question, you're doing this in a medium-sized market? Is this sustainable? And the Padres were furious at the media. I got lectured to by ownership about what I said. And this is the end of the day. Peter Seidler went deep into debt. They had to change the debt rules in baseball so Seidler could continue to operate because he was over the threshold of the debt, and they did it. So at the end of the day, we got really good baseball, pennant races for 5 years, though we never got to a World Series. But the bill has come due. And obviously, Jose Feliciano is walking in the door with a lot of money in his pocket, deep pockets. He has to pay off a lot of debt. And he doesn't have the TV revenue that he used to have. And obviously, that's an intangible that they have to look forward to. Are they going to be able to recoup that money when the new TV package comes up in 2028?
It's not like they can vote and increase the debt ceiling. You know, they can't do that in football. Hey, what do you think of this? Is the fact that the Padres sold for so much more, and you were saying San Diego's a unique market, but there's scarcity. There's only 30 teams, and you get one of them from California, so it's going to be a high price. But how do you think this is going to impact the collective bargaining agreement? Are the players union going to say, hey, man, you guys are loaded. You got all this, unrealized capital gains that you're sitting on, maybe that's going to influence the way they do a deal.
Well, I have no doubt that bargaining chip's going to be thrown on the table, and then baseball's going to have to respond. How's baseball going to respond to this? Baseball can't say we're in trouble because we're not in trouble financially.
No, but it's a great story for capitalism. It's like the Seidler family made an investment in San Diego, and they're getting a return on their investment. I'm happy for them. And they can walk away from the game.
We say thank you for. They bought it for $800 million, and they're selling it for $3.9 billion.
That's pretty good ROI.
Yes,
so good for those guys.
Yeah, very much so. So I'll be intrigued to see. But other markets, if the Red Sox go for sale, for example, but they're at Fenway Park and they're selling out, and they've squeezed every penny you can out of the state of New England. So where do they go get more money? They have their own network, and
Well, they increase advertising rates. They'll increase ticket prices. They'll increase the price of the subscription for what's the NESN, yeah. So that's how they do it, and they'll probably get more corporate sponsorships. Maybe they got to sign a few more Japanese players and get some more Japanese name signs out there on the outfield wall. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah, this price tag is staggering. It's just absolutely amazing.
There's no lack of demand.
Yep.
Okay, let's go here to Rick. Hey, who are the Chargers of Los Angeles? So who are the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles drafting in the first round?
Well, John Cooper's of the opinion that they could draft an offensive tackle who might be better suited to play offensive guard. And I had not considered that angle. This is a really good year for guards, but those guys are all going to be off the board before the Bolts get the pick at 22. But John is of the opinion that there's a tier of offensive tackles that would be in that back end of the first round. He thinks they might take one of them and flip that guy inside and make him a big offensive guard. And that kind of makes reasonable sense to me. All the edge rushers, because they need more pass rushers, those guys will be off the board too. So we'll see. Ortiz has done really well. His drafts in 2 years have been exceptional. I just don't agree with what he did not do in free agency when he had a chance to go pay a price to get inside offensive linemen, and he lost one when he lost the offensive lineman that wound up going to Cleveland. So I think they'll get a good player because I think Ortiz knows players.
But he needs a lot of players. I mean, he says, that we're not done with the offensive line.
No, but John Cooper probably hit the nail on the head. Take an offensive tackle that you believe can transition inside to play guard, and there you are.
Yeah, well, there you are. Well, let's find out what they do. But I can see, maybe in the first, 5 rounds, maybe 2 or 3 offensive linemen.
Yeah, I'd say at least probably 2, and then maybe there's a dynamic edge rusher that they can mold into the job that's not ready to be a star, because the stars are going to be off the board by they drafted 22. And you can't trade from 22 way up. He doesn't have that many picks. He only got 5 draft picks.
No man's land in the first round.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to Bat Fan. Hey, adopted Bengals fan since the Chargers left. I like the trade with the Giants, but not at the cost of the 10th pick. What is the deepest defensive position that they can still get an impact player in the second round?
Well, they need help lots of places, and it's a good defensive draft. I think they need more pass blockers for worker Joe Burrow. I would assume maybe that's what they're going to do. But historically, they've been cheap. And so now they signed all these free agents, and they overpaid for everybody. I mean, between Dexter Leonard and Jonathan Allen, that might be the 2 highest paid combo defensive tackles in the league in Cincinnati. So do you have a lot of money to spend anywhere else? No. So I don't like their ownership. I don't like their football leadership. They're wasting Joe Burrow's career. So I'm not optimistic that they'll be better defensively, but they have to be better defensively because they were such a freaking disgrace last season. But these are older players. I mean, that's a 27-year-old defensive tackle who could wake up one year and be an old man, and Jonathan Allen's even older than Dexter Lawrence is. They'll be better defensively, but in the big picture of things, just don't like the way they operate their franchise.
There are a lot of former Charger fans that have adopted teams.
Mm-hmm.
But why in the hell would you adopt the Cincinnati Bengals?
Uniforms? I don't know.
What do you have a family member that's from Cincinnati? I mean, I have a friend of mine that grew up around Cincinnati, and they always affectionately refer to the team as the Bungles, because they were just so inept.
Well, they're wasting Joe Burrow's career, and he's taken such a pounding because they've been so inefficient in terms of drafting offensive linemen too. That's why Thursday is going to be a fun day to watch, and Friday, obviously, when they do the second and third round.
Okay, let's go here to Music to My Ears. Thanks for the donation. Hey, Clear Lake Capital holds the majority stake in Chelsea. Guess who is a large investor? The Saudi Public Investment Fund. Padres' new owners.
Well, I don't know. They may be getting rid of that. Saudis are selling off everything. In addition to walking away from LIV, Saudis own Newcastle United. And the rumor is they're going to divest themselves of that. Saudis own Formula One cars. I was told they're going to get rid of that. I think the Saudis are exiting the sports venues.
Well, I know there's Saudi ownership of the Man City team. I don't know if it's the Saudi family or just other Saudi folks. Mm-hmm. But it looks like they're kind of turning the thing around.
Yeah, they're taking their money and say, we're going to take it out of sports. I'm going to put it over here for society. So story bears watching for sure.
Interesting. Okay, let's keep on trucking. And let's go here to Teamer. Angels squandered another series versus the Padres.
Well, they had them on the brink. They just couldn't do it. Bullpen has been poor. And we knew that going in. And they're starting pitching. Now, they're kind of excited. What Urena did in his first major league start,
he did good.
He was really dominant. And they've got 2 or 3 other young kids at Salt Lake City they think are on a faster track. And we still don't know about Grayson Rodriguez or Manoah. Those guys are on rehab assignments, but they're just starting to they're going to throw some rehab games. But I just don't think they have enough players, period. But they played pretty well against the Padres, had them right on the brink, but the bullpen gave it all up.
This was just a really fun series to watch. But wasn't it weird, though, in the last game on I think the Sunday game, Ohapi got hit with that ball in the dirt to hit him, like in the Adam's apple.
Yeah, in the neck area.
And then Cronenworth got hit in the face and the jaw. I remember one year when my son was playing high school ball, the catcher got a my son was pitching, and he threw a curveball in the dirt, and it hit the dirt, and it hit the catcher's carotid artery. And it was a serious medical situation when that went down.
Oh, yeah.
So I was surprised that O'Hoppe didn't have one of those Steve Yeager flaps underneath.
He had a little metal piece, but you can get a bigger one, or the flap, but you can get a bigger metal thing attached to the mask. But then it impacts your ability to move your head down.
But it just takes the perfect, pinball ricochet to make that work.
I feared that it had fractured his larynx, because then that impacts breathing.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really serious when it happened.
I mean, he looked like he was really stunned, but he stayed in the game.
I was surprised by that.
Okay, we move on.
Let's go here to Mike. Hey, guys, will my Dallas Cowboys focus on defense in the draft, as Jerry Jones has been saying, or not? I remember when they drafted Micah Parsons and a lot of defensive guys before, only to let them go.
Well, they're talking about trading up, and they've been very aggressive in terms of free agency and spending. They got to fix the secondary. That's an issue. But they're talking about trading from 12 to go as high as Cleveland's pick at 6, and Cleveland does not need defense. Cleveland is trying to stockpile picks, so they talked to Arizona at 3. Now, that's a big leap. You're going to have to pay a significant price, but there's going to be some dealing at the guys at 3, 5, 6, and 7, and I think Dallas is going to be one of the ones that's going to jump in.
Well, Mike had a follow-up, and he said, so disappointed in Jerry Jones as GM, by the way. Last Super Bowl was 30 years ago.
You can talk a good game, but what's the scoreboard say in terms of when you played there last? Exactly.
Okay. All right, let's go here to Padres, Chargers, Lakers. Hey, is it time for the Padres to bench Cronenworth?
Maybe it's time for the Padres to trade Cronenworth. I don't know. I'm surprised he's hitting as poorly as he is, but his numbers have really dovetailed. Is that the correct phrase? In the last 3 years? He hit really well his first couple of years in the show, and I think scouting reports probably caught up to him. But he's a good player, multi-position player, great glove. I think good team guy. He's a grinder. He wants to be out there all the time. And in the cost of today's contracts, he's obviously got a contract that's more affordable now than compared to what the rest of the world's making.
Yeah, he's our adorable little second baseman. Is that what
that's
Don
what
and
Mudcat calls him that. But
yeah, it's a lot of, some people were criticizing when the deal went down when Seidler paid him
10 years, 70.
Yeah, it was a very generous deal, but it was almost like he earned that just from that one hit off of Vesia in the NL. What was it? The NLDS that year. So, but Cronenworth's a good dude.
Yep. And
you could tell that the team trusts him. And when if you pay attention, like when they're having a meeting at the mound, Cronenworth's always there listening, paying attention. And he sometimes quarterbacks the defensive lineman for the infielders.
The correct term is pro.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah. I don't know what his market value would really be out there. And I am surprised he's not hitting better, but it's early in the season. We'll see if he rallies this. But if you go back and just go to baseballreference.com and just look at his numbers, they've radically gone down from where they were in years 1 and 2.
Remember, he was a throw-in in the deal.
From Tampa.
Right.
They scouted him, so there was things they must have seen and liked.
Yeah. The thing I remember is that he was a two-way player, and he was pitching in the Rays minor leagues. Who knows? Maybe you imagine, let's say he finally just starts to hang up the bat. Would he maybe just go and pitch?
Nah.
Yeah, that's kind of fun to think about.
John, don't be far-fetched.
Okay. All right, let's go here to Richard. Fans Forum. Hey, major change for the Red Wings. As usual, they fail worse than Kardashian family values. The person who decided to build Coors Field should be arrested for crimes against humanity.
Well, that's a mouthful of stuff. Detroit missing the playoffs again. A lot of upheaval there. Do they have enough players? Aside from Dylan Larkin, that's a huge question as to whether they do. The goaltender came from Anaheim. John Gibson played really well statistically compared to where he had been, but then he got hurt again at the end of the season. They just got a lot of work to do there. So
I'm trying to link all these things together. Red Wings, Kardashian, Coors Field. Did you see that they had to clear all the snow out of Coors Field?
3 inches of snow. It's really interesting. And then the Dodgers played there.
Yeah, it's incredible that they can clear it that quickly and still play ball on it.
Yep. I think there's some heating elements underneath there, too.
Okay.
In that field.
All right, let's keep on going, and let's go here to Sports Fan. Hey, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, would you trade the free agents for draft picks or re-sign the free agents or trade for non-draft NHL players on the Ducks and Kings?
That's a complicated question. The Kings have got veterans with big contracts. I don't think you can trade them. And, of course, Kopitar is going to retire. The Ducks have got contracts they inherited vis-a-vis trades. If there's a young guy, one more young guy they might trade, it might turn out to be McTavish. She was in a doghouse a lot. I don't think they're going to trade any of the young defensemen. The young goaltender is the goaltender of the future. Dustal, he's got to be the guy, unless the kid they just signed from Sweden, Damian Clara, but he's hardly played at all here. He's only played a couple games for the Gulls. So they're boxed in because they made all these trades to get this team to where they are, and now it's time for this team to go to the playoffs, and we'll just see if the veterans. They took on a lot of veteran contracts. Pat Verbeek, I mean, I was not in favor of him trading Jamie Drysdale. I was not in favor of him trading Zegras, but it brought them Cutter Gauthier, and that kid scored 41 goals. So they got a lot of good young guys there. But, boy, they're in the playoffs. That's great. But, my God, they're going on the ice against Edmonton tonight. You know how hard that's going to be. So that might be a one and done.
Yeah, tough assignment. Hey, let's try to squeeze one more in here.
Quick.
The Atomic Punk is a Van Halen fan. How is it the Padres always crawl into bed with partners tied to Big Bro, the Dodgers?
Yeah, but this guy wanted to buy baseball. This guy had interest in buying baseball, and Todd Boehly was the linkage to get him to Major League Baseball so he could make the big Magnus offer. I don't have a problem with that. You're not demeaning the arrival of the Seidlers. He comes from the O'Malley family. You can't get much more blue-blooded than that.
That was worse.
And no, but he turned out to be such a great person here.
Yeah.
So
well, there was a little bit of chirping when that went down at first.
I know, but that's uneducated.
This is just kind of a fun little sideline to it, now.
Hey, listen, we hope you've enjoyed the podcast and our draft preview. You still have time to order your NFL draft guide. You can get the digital version. It's phenomenal. Just go to Ourlads.com, place the order right there on the home page. We're going to be back Thursday at 1:30. We'll have news and notes leading into the first round of the draft Thursday afternoon in Pittsburgh. If you're a football fan, you won't want to miss that. Hope you've enjoyed the wide variety of information we brought you today. Podcast brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. John, take a deep breath. Enjoy the hockey playoff game tonight. Frosted Glass, Molson's Canadian. I'll be back here for opening face-off. Game on, Ducks Oilers, and we'll be back here on Thursday.
Yeah, right on. Go Ducks, man. That's going to be a great game.
And enjoy the rest of the playoff games, too, plus the Padres and the Dodgers and the Angels. Thanks for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.